back over here just to let you know. Bear with me. Alright, I think my microphone was completely jacked last time. What I don't want is it to feed back into the speakers. Alright, let's see what that is. Is that working now? Alright, let's see what that. Alright. There we go. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. Images. We're working on level 4. Wrong one. Map. There we go. Sorry. Unlock it. We were working on the line of sight before. I was telling you while I was muted that I go around the outside edge usually, and it works the reason why I do that is it works my way back to where I started from almost every single time. And if you watch the previous stream, it brings me back. And then I also, let me zoom in here, I cut off any exit points where players can get out, so to speak. I did it over here as well. And then the other thing I do on this particular dungeon here is they have two expanded dungeons for the dungeon master if they want to expand it. So what I do is I still take it all the way out and then cut it off, but then I add terrain feature here so that way players can't get beyond it. So actually what I need to do is correct that, because terrain features they can walk over. But secret doors they cannot. So that's what I need, is I need the secret door there. So let's go ahead and remove this terrain feature. That removed the terrain feature. I single clicked because I didn't want to select the wall itself. I wanted the wall to stay there. So let's put a toggleable wall there now. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to start right here. And I want to angle it around. And go along here. And then up here. Now that's a toggleable wall. It looks like it's part of the wall. It slopes around. So now they won't be able to go through there unless the DM opens it up. Alright. One of the other things I did on the last stream was I put terrain features for the stalagmites here. because they don't go all the way to the roof, whereas the smaller air, walls, they actually go all the way to the roof. So I actually put walls there. So here's some more examples over here. These are smaller boulders, so that I put terrain features. This is actually a column, so it goes all the way to the ceiling. Same thing here, column versus just a boulder. I haven't added we can add those in now. Let's go ahead and do those. So we'll put terrain. I usually zoom in with the terrain features. That way I usually use line too. These littler ones, I tend to just put a couple occluders on there. I don't want to go all the way around. I want them to see the terrain feature. Like as an example here, the black goes out, so I don't want to put it all the way in the middle or on the edge of it, because I want them to actually see that terrain feature. And that way they can see what it is that's sticking out there, so that way the DM doesn't have to describe it as much. There's that. Alright, let's start doing these other walls. Switch over the walls, line. And like I said, I like zooming in and go along the edge. I don't put it along the exact edge because, as I was saying in the previous video that you couldn't hear, is I want the players to see the wall. So I go around. I want them to actually see the wall. That's great until you have an author or a artist that writes secret doors right on them, on the edge. And when they do that, it makes it a little bit more difficult, but it's still doable. So this particular module is called The Curse of Undermountain. And basically all it is a spin-off of Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I say a spin-off because it's a different take on the same adventure. So I think the artist and the author, both, I think in this particular case the author was the artist. They used similar maps with slight changes, and I think you have to have Dungeon of the Mad Mage for this to even make any sense, because I think there's a lot of references to Dungeon of the Mad Mage in here, and they expect you to be running Dungeon of the Mad Mage with this module as a supplement, and it changes some of the encounters, it changes how the dungeon reacts. Yes, the dungeon reacts, and it just changes the whole makeup. And then here what I'm doing is, when you double click, it closes on the last one. That makes them all sealed, so the players don't see through the walls. You don't want the players seeing through the walls. outside edge. You don't have to be exact with these. The players don't see these red lines. Their token just, their line of sight stops at these red lines. So the DM can make any calls on whether or not a character can see through or beyond an area, even if the occluder allows them to see a little bit. You could still say, as a DM rule, that the cave wall is still blocking some. Again, I'm just going along the outside edge. I don't want to go right up against the, because I want them to see the wall. And I'm not putting too many occluders in here because it creates problems for Fantasy Grounds. Won't have a problem per se, but the more occluders you add, the longer it takes to load. So the idea is to have as few as you possibly can, but still have enough to show the line of sight. And to create the bump outs and that kind of thing. Pardon me. And there's really no rhyme or reason where you don't have to start anywhere. But I just like being methodical, going around in the same pattern. That's all. outside edge. I never do one room at a time. I just go, I pick an area and I just go around the outside edge until I get all the way around, and I pick another area and go around, and I just keep going that route. I try not to just stick on one room because I forget whether or not I've finished sometimes. So to me it's easier just to go around until I've completed. And at that point, I only have the few little small pieces on the inside left to do. And doing it that way, you have less chance of missing something that's small. If you go room to room, it's possible that you could miss something. I mean, you can always double check your work, so it's not like, I haven't ever forgotten anything, but I guess I'm more afraid of forgetting something, so that's why I don't ever do it that way. But I've seen some other cartographers go through and they don't talk at all during theirs. I probably could get away with just not doing it and have music playing in the background. But I would probably break some kind of copyright law by playing the music, so I don't do it. And I don't feel like taking the time to figure out which music I can play for free and which one I don't. The music I'd like to listen to would probably be copyrighted. I don't bother. I made the mistake of, I think the first time I streamed ever, let's look to see, this is that. Yeah, so let's do this. Well, let's redo that. Let me get rid of all that. I'm going to take that, go to here, go all the way out here like this. I did it that way on purpose, so I'll show you here in a minute. So I'm going to put a terrain feature there to trace along that. But I don't stop to do it while I'm doing the walls. So I'm going to finish this wall up and go back to that. I probably got to do the wall on the other side anyway of that crevasse or hole, crater, whatever you want to call it. watches this and has suggestions for me, please, 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 please let me know. I take constructive criticism very well. I'm not perfect either, and I'm going to do this one so I can get that crevasse done. And I know I'm not perfect, so I know I don't do everything correct all the time. I hope I'm doing it correct. I've been doing conversions now for a number of years, and everyone's a little bit different, and the artists aren't all the same, so they don't do things exactly the same. And I do my own stuff too, but when I'm converting somebody else's stuff, I try not to change anything at all in it, because it's the artist's rendition, and I don't want to impose my changes to their product. I want to just convert it and allow others to use it. That's the goal here. Try my best not to change anything during a conversion. If it was my own product, I would draw it the way I wanted it, and there would be no issue. But with someone else's product, I always strive to keep as much of their product exactly the way they drew it. Obviously, with me adding this line of sight, it takes away a little bit, but that's also why I don't go right along the edge. I want the players to see the way the artist drew it. Sometimes you don't have a choice though, especially when it comes to things like secret doors and traps. There's a couple traps on this level, and you could see them in the previous video, and I'll show them to you maybe in this video if we get up to there. They annotated them with a T right on the map, so unfortunately I got to find a way to cover that up. I know the artist wanted to have that there, but if the players are going to play on this map, you can't have them there, otherwise it takes away the surprise. The Dungeon Master can't hide them then. And I can't use terrain features because then people will avoid that spot, and if anything you want to steer them toward it, not away from it. So I've got to think of a decent way to do that. Maybe use an asset or something. Put a so I wouldn't want to put a stalagmite either, because then you would go around the stalagmite. So putting a rug there just isn't, rug in a cavern just doesn't. I apologize if I'm not looking at the camera. So my camera is over here on this other monitor, and I have to look down here at this other monitor over here to see the map that I'm working on. That's why I'm looking off to the left here. actually running 4 monitors at the same time. And I have different things running on different locations based on what program I got running. So right now I've got Fantasy Grounds Unity running. I've got my OBS software running the stream. There's 2 separate monitors there. And then I have an assets folder open on another monitor. And then most of the time when I'm doing a conversion on my other monitor, I'll have the PDF open. In this particular case, because I'm not actually moving anything from the PDF to Fantasy Grounds at this moment, I don't have the PDF open for the adventure because I've already pulled the maps, the images of the map into Fantasy Grounds. And I did it in the smallest format I possibly could because there's so many maps in this particular adventure that I didn't want to create the module to be so large that no one would want to or be able to download it quickly. So I try to make the file size as small as possible. And anybody that's used Fantasy Grounds Unity before knows that the more maps you have open and the larger the file size, the harder it is to run. So I'm conscious about file size and map sizes and that kind of thing. Sometimes you can't avoid it. I usually don't. You can see I'm running the map and it's not having any problems, but our line of sight's coming right along. A little bit at a time. When I'm done this, I'm almost done this little island here, whatever you want to call it, the walls. For this section, I will show you the traps that I was talking about a moment ago. And then I always double check. When I double click, it closes it up, but I want to make sure that it's closed. So let's find those traps real quick, and then we'll come back. Oh, here they are. So here's 2 traps, but they put the T right on the middle of the map. And there are no different versions like player map and dungeon master map like a lot of folks make. So I have to, or I don't have to, I could just leave it that way and leave it up to the dungeon master to do it on his own. But I typically, when I do a conversion, when an artist does that, I try to cover it up in a way that the dungeon master can reveal it when they want to, but then not reveal it if so it's invisible to the players. So I'll figure out a way to do that here in a minute. But let's go back to this chasm, crater thing. And do we want to do a pit? Can do a pit there. Yeah, let's do a pit. So we're going to do, so I'm going to do the pit in a weird way because this tree is crossing it. So that is not a pit. So I'm just going to take along the edge. I'm going to start here. See how it's drawn an opening in a dotted line. And you can press your middle mouse button and move around as you're doing it. But when you do that, see it locks it. So let's get remove that. Control Z works better. I don't want to block movement. And I don't want it toggleable. Alright, so that pit is going to be just a pit. So we're going to start here. Oh, I need to be online. Zoom in a little bit. Go to here, 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 here. This is where I was saying I'm going to go up to the edge of this tree. Just go right along the edge of the tree. That way they can still see the tree, but they also see that everything else is a pit. I don't want to cover up the pit. Now I'm going to just go along. So Fantasy Grounds is nice, and it actually snaps to these little occluders or the squares that I'm looking at. And that's why I did this before. And when I double click, it actually finishes it out. You see now, everything that's a wall is solid. Everything's not a wall is a dotted line, and that's the pit. So now the pit's going to go all the way around all this. So players can walk in that, but then they'll be stuck down in there, and they can't get out unless the DM lets them out. So I'm going to do the same thing over on this side too now. I'm going to start over on this side here. I'm going to start right here along the edge of the tree. Okay. Yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go right along here. Come right up along here. Now it's going to show that they can go, but I'm going to do this and move it over just like that. And then hit these squares. I went to the selection tool. I can grab just that one, see it, and move it around. So I can't move it too much. So I'm going to move it there, so that way it shows that that's a little ledge there. This is a little ledge there. But then when they get too close to the ledge, it falls in. But they'll be able to see that though. So what I need to do though is move these out a little bit. That way they can see that it drops in. Same thing over here. I don't think I gave them enough visual. That way they can see the edge of that cap. Want them to see it. Same thing over here. Let's give them a little bit more room. Problem with give them too much though, players will bring their token based on. So here, let's go back. Players will bring their token based on. Oh, hold on. Let's fix that. That grid's not right. That can't be right. That's way. That's 50 by 50. So is that chasm? No. redraw that. Let's fix that right now. Alright, so the easiest way to do that is like this. Problem is does it match up everywhere? What I did was I used the mouse to generate the 25 by 25. Does it line up properly everywhere? No, sure doesn't. That's the problem with authors putting the grid on the map. See how it's off? Fantasy Grounds grid to the actual drawn grid. It's close, and it'll be hidden enough where it probably won't matter, and it's a little off up here too. All right, that's the grid. That little arrow there annotates up to level 3. Alright, let's keep on going. Back to walls. Pit's done. That's right here. That ought to be fun for the players to get across. So, let's see what happens here. Walls. Line. The other thing I do is I lose track of time as I'm doing these maps. It's 11 o'clock here where I'm at. I'm on Eastern time. And it's Sunday night. I work in the morning. 7 o'clock comes early here. That's when I sign in. I won't be doing this much longer tonight before I head to bed, and then hopefully the microphone's working. It's showing that it is. My last video it didn't work, so I apologize to anybody who watches that, but you still saw what I did. And considering I don't have a whole lot of people following me, I don't know how many views it'll get. 2 or 3 probably. I didn't have anybody join while I was in the stream. I don't think, look up now. That's the other thing I don't do is I don't look at my chat very often. Okay, yeah, no, nobody's on right now. Perfect. That's done. Let's jump over to this one. Let's do these two. Oh, we got 3 little ones here. Do we want to do terrain features on them? They look like rocks in the river. Let's do that. Terrain. I still use the line though. I won't change that feature. Want them to see the line. The black. But I also want their vision to be obscured a little bit. See? You see the black outline out around the outside edge? Do the same thing with this here. Terrain features are a little bit different. They're toggleable, which means the DM can turn them off or on, but players can go over top of them. So a player can move onto it and then they'll automatically be able to see over it. So it doesn't make it impassable. That's why I had to go back up. I made the mistake on the previous one where the expanded dungeon line was. I didn't want the players to be able to go onto it and be able to up here. I had a yellow terrain feature here. It needed to be toggleable wall to make sure that they couldn't go through it. And I missed some stalactites here. So while I'm doing the terrain, I'll go ahead and just knock them out. Alright. These little ones, I just try to put a little bit of terrain feature there. Bigger ones, I tend to give them a little bit more substance. You just want enough where it breaks their line of sight. Alright. Oh, there's some more down here. Let's knock them out too while we're doing this. Just enough to break their line of sight. Same thing here. Alright. I think that's an island, so I'm not going to do anything with that island. I think the players would be able to see that, so there's nothing wrong with that. These little rocks, different story. The rocks that's sticking up out of the water, they're definitely going to hide anything that happens to be behind them until you get on the rock. These other ones, though, I'm going to treat them as they go all the way to the ceiling. So that's when we jump to this, which is a wall feature. There's no turning this one off, and the players can't get through these. That is solid rock all the way to the ceiling. Well, see, that's why you want to make sure that you, when you double click it, that's why it closes. You definitely don't want them players to be able to see into your walls. That's a good example right there of how that happens sometimes. I always check every time I double click, zoom in and hook. Sometimes you can tell right away that it didn't work. Other times it's not as visible. That was pretty obvious, so I jumped right in and fixed it. But I've learned in doing these conversions and setting up the occluders and all that, sometimes you can't see it, so I've learned to, every time I double click, to zoom in and look. So you'll see me whenever I double click, I'll zoom in like this real quick, just so I can see. Could be my old eyes too that I could. It might be obvious to everybody, but either way, I've learned to check every time. Like that. just far enough where they can see the wall. Oh, that didn't work either, so let's fix that. Move this one there. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and demonstrate how to do the secret door. So first thing we're going to do is draw this area first. Go ahead and do this area first. You up too soon, but doing the secret door, you want to do it so that way the players don't realize there's a difference between the wall and the secret door. And there's different techniques you can use to do that. One of them is trying not to put too many straight lines. The fact that the walls are jaggedy and not, you notice I don't follow exactly along. That's on purpose sometimes to form a not straight line in the wall. So even if I'm going a good distance, sometimes I'll break it up. Just change direction of the line, even if it's like that. See, just changes a little bit. Coming up to where the secret wall. Oh. I gotta solve that. I can't leave that the way that is. See the opening? What I want to do is just close it up like that. So all I did was click on there, double clicked on there, and created the line. I can go back there here. Single click. What I want to do here, I want to go beyond. So here, let me zoom in, show you. See the white? You don't want the players to see that. So what I do is I go like this. This is the one time that I don't show the wall. So that you see little waves there. So the players won't know that that was like that. And then I usually take this straight back. And then I can go like this. Watch. When I get around to the other side, I'm going to do something very similar to it. You notice I did not, that looks like beach there. But it looks like you can go underground into that room. But you see over here, went beyond it, the white again, so I'm going to do the same thing, beyond the white, and then straight through, and up around the white. Now, I've got to worry about putting a secret door in there now, but including these occluders that I added. Let me zoom in on that one. Let me move that one just a little bit. There we go. And then same thing over here. I want them to see the black. And then there we go. Check this side. I want them to see the black. That way I can draw the. Alright, so now let's show you how to do that. Over here, the secret door, toggleable wall is really what it's called. Line mode. And you want to zoom in and you want to start on one of these occluders. And you want to draw along the. Again, you want to show the black. You want them to see that. Do it just the same way you would do the other walls. That way they don't think anything of it. And I go right to that line. Now I can just go straight to this other line and then slowly come out and do the same thing over here. See that. There. So now you have that big blue area, dotted lines all the way around, completely enclosed. But when you go to play mode, it didn't work. Maybe it did. Nope, drew two separate ones. Let's fix that. Walls. Somehow, Control Z. Should be able to continue that where that is. So now that should be fixed. Let's look. Nope, it's still showing us 2. See, you can tell by hovering. See how it's when I hover over it? I may have to remove it and redo it. Showing 2 different secret doors there. You don't want that. So, the way to fix that is go right back here, and I am going to show you how to fix that. selected points, that kind of thing. Um, the problem is because as I was going through, I accidentally double clicked right here, and because I did that, the second line goes back around here all the way to here. So it thinks that the box is just along the first secret door, along this outside edge, not in the middle. And then the second secret door is just right here. So the only way that I know of to fix that is just to redraw it. So I'm going to select all this. Yeah, see that? I can delete all that. There. Alright, let's do it the right way this time, Brian. Alright. Again, we're starting here along the outside edge. And remember, if you accidentally double click, it's going to finish the box. And if the box is a straight line, then it's just that, a straight line. And as you can see, it's easy just to finish it again. Now, watch what happens. Yep, it's all one. No matter where I move the mouse, it's just one big door. But as you can see the cave walls along that edge, you can still see it. But because it's connected directly to the wall, to the players, it will look like this wall just continually goes. Same thing on this side. They won't know that that secret door is there. The Dungeon Master will, because they'll be able to lock or open the secret door. Okay. That's just clicking on it. Secret door. Alright. Let's go back to walls. We've got to be able to see. I'm going to leave that there because that looks like beach to me. The only question I have is, if they're underwater and they go under there, how do they come out and be able to be on the beach? That would all be underwater. I don't understand that without reading the text, but I guess it doesn't matter. The reality of it is that section there, maybe they swim out and then they can come back up on the beach. I don't know. Maybe there's a hole up underneath. Who knows? Who cares? Could be a ledge. But in either case, I'm going to leave that open so that way any players that get in there can see this, how the artist drew that. I wouldn't want to draw that as a terrain feature because it shouldn't be blocking anything. Alright. Same thing over here. There's a beach. So, it's a wall. There's one here. Just draw the walls around it. When you're drawing just straight line walls, if you accidentally double click like this, it finishes the wall, and see now you can see when I move my mouse around it, it doesn't draw any more walls. All I'd have to do is just continue by clicking once on it, and I can continue on. I don't know whether I've said it already or not, but you see me moving the map around like this while I'm still drawing walls. See the wall still attached to my mouse. I'm left clicking to add the boxes, or what they're called occluders. But I press and hold my center mouse wheel to move the map where I want it without moving my cursor. And then I can go back to moving my cursor and left clicking to add the occluders in. Makes it really convenient when you're trying to move around and manipulate the mouse. And then I'm using the scroll wheel to scroll in and scroll out. And you can do both. You know, move it around and then scroll in, scroll back if you want. I mean, I could build it this way, but it's a lot harder to see where the edge is. See how I would do that when I'm closer. So when I'm zoomed out, to me it's not as good of a product. So I always zoom in so I can see. Because I want them to see the edge of the wall, but I also want to have them to see these little alcoves and stuff. And I want the line of sight to be blocked when it's supposed to be blocked. Places it doesn't matter as much, but again, you don't have to be exact on this. The tokens will only see up to the red line. But you'll still see the drawn portion of the map in the map wall. So the DM can still say there's a wall there, you can see it. Just because I didn't draw the line of sight to block it all the way doesn't mean the DM can't rule that that's still a wall. I mean, it's still obvious a wall. If anything, it brings realism to the game. So they see the... Alright, that's looking good. Alright. It's 11:30. I think we're going to cut it at this point. I'll stop here. We'll get another stream coming out. I'm going to continue this. You're going to start seeing this. Again, if you're watching this, I'm not going to show any spoilers. And if you can pick up the spoilers out of this, yeah, you're seeing the map, but I mean, I'm not saying zoomed in on. I guess you could screenshot it and all that. So, I mean, if you're going to play Dungeons of the Mad Mage, I'd suggest you not watching this stream. That's the only spoiler there is here. I'm not going to give you any details of the encounters or anything like that. So, anyway, I'll see you all later.